Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and today LizardIRL and myself will discuss all of the Sentinel skills and put them in a tier list just for you. We'll tell you about them, what we think of them, and how we would rate them in endgame content. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. Sigils of Hope.
Well, Sigils of Hope has always been good, right? But now that block is more broken than before, and armor's been buffed, and you get so much armor from it, and the increased damage, and you get mana regen on top of it if you really want to, and you don't have... Sigils of Hope has to be S+. It's probably the best ability in Sentinel. Yeah, I mean, if you can fit it on your build, you will, right? It's just like 800 armor for free, pretty much. The increased damage, the 12% block chance, the duration, it's just really crazy. The flat damage. It's crazy for damage, it's crazy for defense, it just makes every build better. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely S+. It's... You know, I hate it because it feels clunky when you have to use it or manually cast it, but if you have it on the kill, you know, the 6% chance, on kill to have it proc, if you have it on instacast, it's not so bad. As long as you're not using it in a super mana-intensive build, if you're using it with something like Smite, Vengeance, or Rive, something that's already mana-generating, super powerful, super offensive, defensively, the flat armor, the health regen, the block, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yep, that's crazy.
Alright. Judgement.
Well, it's a cool ability, but it's one of those like, okay, so I want to use Judgment, but I'm not gonna need to make mana, so I'm gonna use Vengeance or Rive to make my mana, and then I'll use Judgment, but Judgment does the same damage that Vengeance and Rive can do. So it's like, why the fuck would I use Judgment? It's kind of cool that you can use Smites with it, and Concentrated Ground can do some crazy healing. But at the end of the day, the animation is kind of like locks you in place. Even if you get attack speed, it's just not really fast. I think it's like a B for me, Judgment.
Yeah, I put it in as B as well. There's a few versions of it that do better than obviously other versions. I worked with Trundle for a while. We built it. 200 waves was about where it capped out. And there were some versions. I mean, we did a build on it. It hit hard. It has that nice AoE, which is a little bit above Vengeance, but you end up dying. Mana expensive.
Squishy. You need to go dual wielding. And to be honest, with Sentinel, if you don't go block or you don't go full armor on a Forge Guard or like with the armor on Warpath or something, you are actually so squishy compared. Like, you're not tanky at all. There's no DR in Sentinel at the moment. We'll see what they do with Sentinel. We all know Sentinel is getting lots of changes for next patch. I'm a bit scared, honestly, because, I love my Sentinel, so we will see. Even though if it's weak, I still like it, but yeah.
I'm scared for a few things next patch, or the next couple of patches. My two favorite builds right now are in the Sentinel class. You have the Hammerden and you have the Decimator, and the fact that both of those are probably going to change, scares me. And then my backup Primalist, the patch after is going, I'm hoping they get it right, because...
Hey, you're gonna end up playing Necro with Dreadshade, no worries.
If all my builds have a Soul Feast nerf happen to them, I'm just gonna be like, well...
Yeah. To be fair, Soul Feast hasn't really happened again.
Not two Soul Feasts, but there's been some builds I enjoyed that saw some heavy nerfs.
Yeah, but Soul Feast was like...
Soul Feast went from hero to zero and unusable. I'm trying to think of a build that I had that was usable, but then I feel like most of the ones they've done...
1 million ward Necro?
Well, I think most of the ones they've done to me, they nerfed, and then I found a way around it, and then it got nerfed again, and then it was to be expected. Like the Lethal Mirage build, where it one-shotted bosses, they nerfed it. We found a new way to do it, it nerfed it. We had the Machine Gun Spriggan that they've tried to change a couple of times, so we keep finding a different way to do it, and it's funny because I always think from their perspective how they like plan this for months, and they're like, all right, we got him,
this motherfucker.
he's done this, we're gonna nerf it with this, and then boom, they throw it out there, and like the next day just fucking we got away. But
beautiful.
Okay, Holy Aura.
S+.
I can't argue that.
Haste for free, no matter what. Crazy attack speed, crazy resistances, and now not only resistances but endurance, block effectiveness, ward if you want, fire pen if you want, the AOE fire attacky thing if you want, a slow, throwing attack, at crit chance, crit multi, it physical damage. It legit has anything you can want. It has it, and not only that, it's good without even using it passively, right? Absolute bonkers. Holy Aura is like so good that so many times like you're trying to theory craft a Void Knight build or a Forge Guard build, and you just go like, well, I could just go basically do exactly the same, but just go Paladin and put Holy Aura in there, right? So and you end up having these weird builds where you're Paladin with 20 points into the Paladin tree and everything else is like spread, right? Because you just wanted to get the... And to be honest, you're probably going to be putting 30 points or whatever in Paladin, 15 at least, right? To get Sigils anyway, on every build, right? So, yeah. A bit... And again, I understand why they know it's really strong and they even made it stronger with the endurance change. And now it's gonna be party. Like right now, if multiplayer released, how do you justify not having a paladin on your team? Like giving everyone like fucking resistances, haste, and damage and attack speed, and it's just crazy. Yeah, really OP.
I wish I could test multiplayer because I'm curious if you had 3 paladins in there, if they all just have
stack?
Do they stack? Do you have 75% LE resist and capped endurance just because you have 3 paladins around you? Some things like there's some other things like that I wish multiplayer was out right now because I'm like I know broken, those synergies where you're just like, oh, that'd be fun for a day, but
like everyone who plays this game a bit serious know that right now if they release multiplayer, it would probably be unplayable from a balance point of view. Because the game, don't get me wrong, we've been saying the game is pretty balanced on a single player standpoint. Like, for example, things like entangling roots. Well, you start adding multiplayer to that, and suddenly you have, decoy. Now you don't have 1 decoy. You have people stacking 4 decoys, and you decoy, I decoy. You see where I'm going? 4 earthquake wearers? Like, yeah. like,
yep. Yeah, 4. I mean, 4 zombie builds going around. There would be some ridiculous things. I mean, any lich that had 4 different specs of wandering spirits. So you had 100 spirits on the screen at every moment. It'd be ridiculous.
Or just imagine shadow daggers got nerfed that you need 4 shadows now to trick the shadow dagger. Well, if you're 4 rogues and you 4 dash at the same time, that's 4 stacks. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be curious if stacks like that will stack between players. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It should. It's an ailment, right? So.
Yeah, it'll be. I'll be curious to see how it goes. Well, I guess we'll get our best picture when we see the reworks to these classes. Yeah, and that'll give us kind of an impression of where they're going with things. But
yeah, I mean they're testing MP already internally, so they might. I'm sure a lot of the changes are gonna be preparing the ground for that transition, right? But yeah.
All right, Vengeance.
Well, Vengeance is really good. It is requires. It is hard to. It's a hard to play build though. You can play with block and you can be really really tanky. So I think it's at least S for sure. I don't think it can compete versus the stuff on S plus though. So I would say S.
I put it on S plus. I think it can compete with some things up there. The damage reduction is so strong. Well, you push to 450 waves with it.
I pushed 500 waves with it, but I put 2,000 hours to do so.
But I mean,
detonating arrow.
It was still done. Detonating arrow is on the same tier, but you didn't get 500 waves with that.
Yeah, I've got 450 in a weekend, right? In 1 try.
With
Vengeance, I've done like 1,000 tries, right? So I think I'm giving it in the perspective that I know how hard it was to push Vengeance. I can guarantee you Harvest pushes higher than Vengeance. Guaranteed. And I played both. And so if Harvest pushes higher than Vengeance, and so does Fireball. Okay. And so does for sure.
We'll go S.
Yeah.
Still a very strong
Don't get me
skill.
wrong. It is definitely S plus if it was a Sentinel only tier list. But yeah, you're not. And it's definitely better than a lot of the things in S. It's definitely better than Serpent Strike and Storm Totem and stuff like that. But I don't think it's better than Detonating Arrow, right? Or Reaper or Dead Seal. Like, no way. The damage reduction is nice, but again, you need to build crit. You need good gear with it. If you play Vengeance with just basic tier 20 gear, you're not pushing. You're good luck getting past 300 on a 200 weapon. Yeah.
Right, Warpath.
Now, Warpath though. Warpath is definitely S plus now, with the changes to armor and the armor while channeling, and especially now that you can go crit. I know for sure. Like, I'm building a Warpath character right now, getting the blessings and stuff, and I'm pretty confident I can. I'll on my first push, I'll beat Vengeance, 100%. Yeah, it's just and the armor while channeling. 900 armor on the or 800 armor on the blessing, with the changes to it's just Holy Aura, Wings of Argentus, so many buffs, physical shred, armor shred being better. It's like one of those abilities that it wasn't that good that long ago, but all the things that they've introduced, dual wielding, Wings of Argentus, shred, suddenly this ability that hits so fast, it became like a monster. And it's also semi-melee, right? Because you don't actually have to stop an attack. You can just like run around mobs. So things like Scholars don't really hit you because you're just kiting around them, where Vengeance you have to stop. They hit you and you're fucked, right? Yeah, it's super OP in my opinion.
As a movement skill, it's very strong, especially with all that damage reduction. So yeah, between having 100% uptime of haste because you're getting hits with the Wings of Argentus, yeah, it's definitely an S tier, S plus build.
Yeah.
Hammerthrow.
Well, I haven't pushed it, but I think Hammerthrow can push really high, personally. Especially now that you can get the Smite idols with the Smite crit increased damage idols, right? And you can like double dip them and stuff. I also know that Hammerthrow has like a throwing build now that does a lot of damage with the nodes that the node that removes the spinning and the orbiting and the orbiting around you, that gives it crazy damage multipliers. So I'm torn between S and S plus. I know it's really safe too because it's range. It does monolith really well, and the bossing is just crazy because you get so many hits with the Smite idols. So I don't know. I haven't pushed it myself. I believe that if I go block with this and I just get 100% block with Smite damage and stuff, like I don't see what can even kill me. I just don't see it. So I think it's probably S plus personally, but I don't know.
I went S with it.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite skills. It has every time I go in arena with it, no matter which build I try and do, there's always some sort of issue with it. I haven't seen anyone push a Hammerden build super high.
Yeah.
And I think I've
seen 300s. I've seen 300s, but I've never tried myself, so it's hard to judge.
I could see 300, maybe even 400, but any higher, it's the problem with it is one of the things is the hammers, can't hit anything in the environment or they disappear. In the arena, that can be a bit of an issue. Like shield throw tends to go through a lot of things, but hammers just disappear. And then they have some bugs with them as well. The Void Aura is all messed up right now. But I think S is just kind of where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, and we're gonna be to the other throwing attack, and that one's definitely gonna be better. So yeah, S seems fair. Yeah.
Lunge.
Well, Lunge has to be another really, really... Like, I tell you what, if Lunge wasn't targeted, it would be S+. But because it's targeted, it's S. It's still really crazy. Immunity, if you're good with it, the skill cap on this ability, precisely because it's targeted, you gotta know how to position yourself, because depending on where you're positioned, your immunity is gonna be longer, because it's based on your travel time, and you need a target, right? It's not like shift, where you can just shift whenever. The armor is really good, the initiative buff with the crit is really good. Bad things about Lunge, the rest of the tree is fucking useless. There's only one way to build it, You can make it 0 mana if you're playing Warpath with 0 charges also. Like, I think it's a really good ability, the armor, especially now that the armor is buffed. In combination with Sigils, I'll give it an S at least.
Yeah, it's between an S and an S plus for me. It's funny because there is only one way to build it, and I say it every time I do a build guide on a Sentinel, and I put it in there just like it's built the usual way. I don't even want to go over the nodes because it's like you guys should know this by now. But yeah, it's the initiative buff and the invincibility with the armor increase. It's great defensive, great offensive. Just that the target is what sucks. It kills it against Lagon. It makes it a bit slower when there's nothing around to be able to lunge,
Yeah.
But I'd give it an S. I can't put it with shift just because the target just...
Yeah, exactly. And you can push shift with Dreadshade, right? So you have to... Again, there's big power differences between things on the same tier, but they would still be like an excellent, right? Or like an A plus or whatever. But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Rive.
And then Rive again. For example, I think the best way to play Rive is play with block, precisely because you don't have to go crit and you can just go full tank. Now Rive got hit with the idol nerfs for it because you can't get 4 Rive idols, and that hit it pretty hard. You lost a lot of crit multi on it and a lot of increased damage, especially if you're playing Void, because you could get the Void and crit idols. I do think it's still pretty good, so I think still an S ability, even though if you compare it to something like Vengeance or Hammerthrow, I would think it would be a bit lower. But I do think Rive is better than Shatter Strike, for example, so way better. I think it's close. I think Vengeance and Rive can put pretty similar. They're just gonna do it doing different things. And I think when those abilities cap, it's not so much because the abilities cap, it's because the class caps. A lot of the abilities that push really high is not so much because of the ability, it's also because the class is just completely crazy. It's crazy on top of crazy. Whereas Sentinel is pretty weak if you don't on its own, aside from block. So
yeah,
that's for me, honest.
Yeah, Rive has one of the most interesting skill trees for me. I love the skill tree. I love the building into the void. I love converting ignite into physical damage. You can build into crit, attack speed, area, many different aspects of it that are
execute.
Execute, pull, mana gain. I mean, there's really all of it there. I love that it's a 3-cycle skill, so it does 3 different animations. Great skill. It's potent. I do dislike that you don't get the damage reduction with it, but you can still build tanky with the soul hand to shield. It's S for me. Yeah,
and if you go, and again, the thing with, like, for example, if you went to play Vengeance and Rive with block, while Vengeance obviously would be tankier because it has the extra 30% damage reduction, the thing is that Vengeance would do no damage, right? Because you won't crit as much, because suddenly you're using a one-handed sword or a one-handed axe, you don't have base crit, then you don't have a lot of damage, and it kind of sucks. But with Rive, you don't need to care about crit, you don't need to build crit chance anywhere. So you can just go full on crit multi and increase damages on your gear and strength. And yes, Vengeance is going to be a tankier, but Rive is going to be critting for 10k with a shield, where Vengeance, you're not going to even crit, right? You're going to have 20% crit, and you'll be lucky. So I would 100% push Rive with a shield, whereas I wouldn't with Vengeance. But yeah, they're really strong skills, and they are fun to play too.
Yeah. All right, Rebuke.
What is that ability even? Since now that it's a spell, I don't even know.
I already threw it in the D.
Yeah, D. I think. Why is it even a spell? I honestly don't know. I think if Rebuke was could be channeled, it was an ability that would proc with other abilities. For example, imagine you could Smelter's Wrath while you're rebuking, right? So you could do a combo, You know, like you could it could be like a kind of like an MMO buff, you know, where the tank activates like, and it's like a shield or something, and then you could do your big channeling skill. I could see it used on MP, right, to be like a super tanky. While your DPSs are doing damage, you're just there tanking with your channel ability. I could see that, right? But as of now, as on the single player environment, what the fuck is that? Like, probably the worst ability in the game. I don't know.
So, how many stances are there?
We have Ravaging stance, right? Ephemeral stance, and Juggernaut stance.
There are 3 of them. For some reason, I was only thinking there was 2. All right, never mind. Well, they did say that 3 skills were going away and being replaced, so it's going to be all the stances. But I was thinking maybe
I don't even have them here because
I was thinking there's a chance Rebuke might have been one of those skills that were going bye-bye for something else. But yeah, once they changed it to spell,
no one would miss it.
Yeah, it was really weird. It has a sweet interaction the more it hits. I mean, you take a massive amount of damage reduction.
And Retribution build, right? Where you get hit and then you do like a big explosion. Yeah.
Which is cool, but usually what ends up happening is, since it's a spell, you like, what do you play that's going to build a massive amount of spell damage and be tanky?
Yeah.
If you're playing that, you
Judgement.
usually... Well, Judgement. Yeah, you'd be playing Judgement, or you'd be playing like a Smite or a Devouring Orb type build, but it's a ranged build, so you don't want to take a whole bunch of hits. You know, you're not going to go Rebuke. And then
again, if you could have it active while you're playing, it would be okay. But the fact that you have to stop everything you're doing and just be there to get surrounded is like, what? Yeah.
And then it lasts for such a short amount of time that by the time the enemies all surround you to do the hits, it's off, and then you're like, in the middle of 50 things. You're like, oh shit.
Body blocked by 20,000 rats. And,
But all right, Shield Rush.
Shield Rush is cool for mapping, I think. It's nice if you want to go fast. It has some meme builds that you can do with it. It's good to get out of danger situations. I mean, from all the mobility skills, it's definitely a weak one. I would say it's a B. It's okay, but I don't really find a reason to use it over Lunge. So it could be an A, right? But I'm gonna throw it at a B. You can make some really fun meme builds with it, right? With the paintball and stuff. But yeah, on a real standpoint, I don't think it's that great. So B for me.
I put it in A just because you can actually make a full DPS build out of it. It is kind of memey to do the what is it called?
The paintball.
God,
with the purple things.
You don't have to do the void beams with it. You can, but that makes it even more ridiculous. But
the one that has the HP cost, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, so, well, you can convert it. So, you can Shield Rush, you can turn the mana cost into, I think, an HP cost, and then you can have it return the mana, and then you can also get rid of the cooldown, and then you have to...
go back to the original position.
Yeah.
And you go like, ping, ping, the paintball, yeah.
And then you get the echo strikes that it does, whatever those hits are, and you can do massive hit damage. Like, you can crit Training Dummy for 100k damage, and then you can just ping-pong back and forth really quick. But it's
you will die.
you'll eventually die or run out of mana because the mana can kind of disappear on you instead of being returned. But I was running some empowered content for people with it, especially with the new Apolthes Maul Void Damage Axe.
The axe.
It was doing some massive damage. It was viable.
Really cool for Rive too. That axe with the Gates of the Abyss. Really cool.
I've been meaning to do it, but it seemed like dual wielding you could still get more damage without building into the Void portion. But for Void Knight, Rive is with that axe it hits pretty hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could push it down to a B. I mean, it's kind of a cool skill. You can speed run with it. For builds that don't want to use Lunge and use it, they can go all the way to one side of the map if you know the map well enough. On certain maps.
I really want to put up Marrow Shards the more I look at it after playing it this weekend. But we'll see.
I'm gonna move it down to B. It's not used very much.
Oh, come on. The shield rush?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If you compare the other stuff in the tree, I think the other stuff is definitely more popular, right? Yeah, on the bracket, I mean. Yeah. All right. Good for me. Ooh,
Shield
baby.
Throw.
Well, Shield Throw is S+ for sure. Now, the only reason, to be honest, for me, it's not SS, is because the things that are on SS are so broken that, I mean, From the S pluses, I think it's the most. It's probably the strongest, just because how tanky you can get. Elemental Nova and Lightning Blast are pretty close, right? But this is the things on SS is stuff that doesn't belong in the game, kind of thing. Whether it's Shield Throw is strong, but it still feels like it's part of the game. You don't feel like you definitely feel OP, but it doesn't feel like, all right, this is gonna 100% disappear, right?
Yeah, it's
You
still
get turbo tanky. Yeah. I'm building one now with the gear that I've been following. I have Exalted Rings, crazy gear. Like I got Exalted Shield and stuff like that. You can get 100% block with this bad boy now with all the new gear. I'm hitting mobs for 10k with Shield Throw now. You can use that the node that it's supposed to like take off your block chance for 100 more damage. Whether you take the 100 damage and you don't lose the block. Obviously that's a bug. But again, even if you don't use that, you still have the 75% more fire damage and the 50% more fire damage per amount of block that you have. So it would still, instead of hitting for 10k, you would hit for 8k. So if you have good gear. So while it helps a lot, I don't think if they fix that, I don't think anything's gonna change, because you're still gonna be immortal. You're still gonna have 20k armor. You're still gonna be range, having the tankiness of a melee. So really OP.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Even the both versions, the hit damage, the spell ricochet damage, smite proccing with it. It's all super powerful. And I think the biggest thing that separates it from the other ones is the fact that it's not a full screen AoE every time it goes off. Like you have a single target, it does ricochet, but it takes time, and it takes a couple of hits to kill things. And so it's not like OP where it's just it's not that PoE whole screen dies, you move on.
No,
It takes a little bit of time each time. That's what makes it.
And well, you're gonna be so tanky that you're gonna be able to AFK most of the content because you're gonna be that tanky. When you get to the higher tier content, like really high waves, you need to know what you're doing. You need to kite, you need to play, and it's not gonna be just pressing one button like Earthquake Werber or Necro or Shadow Daggers. You definitely need to have mechanics for that. But it's still freaking broken. Like block in general is just so OP in my opinion. 60% mitigation that you can't get anywhere else anymore. So OP. I don't even know how that's still in the game. Like so OP.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, Smite.
Smite is cool. Now, is Smite had AoE? For me, it would be S+. But because it doesn't, it's an S. I think it does really good damage. I think it's really fun to play. I think it's really fun to proc the attack speed, the teleport, everything you can do with it. I think if you want to play the Mimi version with the full mana cost, the sacrifice things, and go for the full damage on Void Knight with the Void Leech and stuff, it's really, really fun to play. But it's a really fun skill, really versatile. The only thing I hope with this ability is that one day they bring a skill that allows you to proc it manually, like on melee hit. How good would it be, like hitting an enemy and then smites falling on the sky with your paladin, like with a shield and a board and sword? I would love that.
Like Judgement, but more melee.
Yeah, and with like a 0 mana skill, like a smiter, from D2. But it's a good ability.
Yep, I love it. It works in one of my favorite builds. While it doesn't have AoE on hit, I do like the lightning part that can hit multiple targets, or if there's a single target, they all hit the same target. So it's kind of, it's like tendrils kind of on detonating arrow. Just a little bit of AoE,
shock but not lightning shred, shock. It's cool.
Visually, love it. It's a great anesthetic skill, but yeah, I put it in S because it's not. It's hard to separate it from Shield Throw, but it doesn't do anything defensively for you. But it's a super hard hitting skill. If anything, it makes you less defensive, especially if it steals your life. But yeah, it's a great skill. Definitely very powerful. S for sure.
Yeah.
Volatile Reversal.
Ooh, now Volatile Reversal is a really good skill, especially now that the mana is fixed. To be honest, I think if you're playing Sentinel, I know a lot of people don't like to play it because it's a hard ability to use effectively. Especially, it's not the best on monoliths because you go backwards. But if you master this skill, for example, the reason Vengeance pushes 500 and not 300 is not Vengeance, it's Volatile Reversal. So I think Volatile Reversal is an S+. I love the ability. I think the tree is great. I think you can do so many things like the mana, you can do the bonus damage, you can do the Void Rifts, you can do max duration, min duration, dodge chance. It's a great skill. I love the design, and I hope we get more like high skill cap abilities like this one, because these are the ones that I personally enjoy the most, and I think it's S+. Probably the most fun ability in the game for me.
S+? Whoa.
Yeah.
I put it in S, but you know what? I could go S+ for you. The reason being, I mean, it is a super powerful skill. You can, it's a movement skill that doesn't get touched by the other movement skills. It's not affected by the global cooldown. It can instantly give you back mana. I mean, instantly, all of your mana.
You can't play Warpath without it, and Warpath is there.
Yeah, you can get, you can take yourself out of danger immediately if you need to. You can, you know, make it do more damage for you, give you increased attack speed, increase your DPS, increase your move speed. You have the Void Rifts. The cooldown is actually extremely low on it, especially if you're getting kills, which is pretty crazy and a cool interaction. I can go S+ with it. For me, the reason I would put it in S is unless you are skilled and know exactly how it works, you can put yourself right back in danger just as much as you can take yourself out of it.
Well, for 99% of the players, it's the skill that's gonna kill you. For the other 1%, it's the skill that's gonna allow you to never get killed. It is definitely one of those. But the potential is there, and that's what we need to mention it, right? I guess.
Yep. Abyssal Echoes. Non-pulling version.
By the way, have you Mike said on the teaser for the new Void Knight skill, forget everything you know about Abyssal Echoes.
Yeah, I saw that. And it makes sense because everything about Abyssal Echoes, if you think about what they're doing with the Void Cleave skill and the fact that it will proc Abyssal Echoes after it's already done the hit, it makes perfect sense that that skill would be completely different. Yeah, I see Abyssal Echoes changing into either a super powerful dot that's applied, which would be like
Doom,
which would be like Doom, or it's going to, you know, and a strong debuff, or it's going to turn into like a I don't want to say like a anomaly, like sending them to a future type thing, but I could see Abyssal Echoes like
some sort of control, CC,
like,
or slow down or something.
So some sort of debuff, CC. I don't think it'll turn into like a Void Rift hit, but I wouldn't even be surprised if they turned it into a full Void Rift type thing. So you create Void Rifts that do big hits or something.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what they do with it.
That's what I expect. I expect, you know how like Erasing Strike has like this chance to like echo or something and do like bonus explosions and everything starts blowing up. That's kind of like what I expect. I mean, maybe what I would really want to is, since they learned a lot from making the Rogue and the Shadows, you know how like obviously like Void Knight makes the echoes, right? The Shadow is. I think it would be really cool if there was some sort of like interactions that, depending of, maybe you can spec maybe Abyssal Echoes, instead of being a skill, turns into a passive, and depending on what you spec on the passive, like all your abilities would have ways to proc it, kind of like how Spark Novas or Shadow Daggers or something like that. That's kind of like what I'm expecting, just based on what they've done with the development on the past few months. So I could see it being part of like Void Knight as a class, and not so much being its own skill, if that makes sense. Especially since you have the weapon has it, right? The Trident of maybe when they made that weapon, they already had this in mind. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it would be cool. One of my favorite things is the chaining ability of Abyssal Echoes. And like you have a whole bunch of mobs, and then you just see it chain off the screen. It'd be really cool if Abyssal Echoes was procced with a melee skill. So you do a hit, and then it chains, it echoes. Your one hit echoes, you know, and or applies your hit, you know, to more enemies down the line. It'd be pretty cool, but we'll have to see. But anyways, in its current form, I put it in A.
Yeah, me too.
It's got some uses, but it's just one of those skills that's just kind of there.
Yeah. Everyone was excited about the Void Pen when they first changed it. It turns out that who gives a shit when you can just go Shred now anymore. Anyway, it's kind of cool that if you turn it into fire, it hits, so it can apply your things. Right? It's pretty cool. The more damage the more dot damage enemies have. Well, you know what I mean. The fact that you can make it take enemies take more damage from damage over time. It's really cool. One thing that I've always been really disappointed with is like the Abyssal form. I thought that as a concept is so cool. The fact that you could turn into like a void-infused, shadowy, edgy knight, you know, kind of like something that comes out from a Dead Knight from WoW or something. It's just like never even procced, right? Because it was impossible to proc, and I don't even know if it had a buff marker, because it was so hard to proc, because you never got kills with the actual echo. So I really hope we know Void Knight is getting reworked. I would love to have a Void form, or, you know, a Void, maybe, you know, since stances are getting reworked, stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like on top of the Void Knight tree, you get some big, thick purple energy going on. I would love to see that.
If they moved Abyssal Form into your passive tree so that it would proc on kill for any skill or anything killing it, that would be pretty cool. Especially if it came as a transformation, even if it was temporary, you fucking became a void.
Or you just get like an aura or something, like purple flames on you or whatever. It would just be so sick, right?
Yeah, that would be pretty sick. Hopefully something like that happens.
Well, Void Knight is your favorite class too, right? As far as I know, like in terms of fantasy.
Void Knight is my favorite class. The Hammered in build is kind of like my favorite build at the moment, just because nostalgia from D2. It feels amazing. But Void Knight itself, the skill play, the Void itself is the coolest aspect of it. The way the skills work, the mechanics are thematically just, you know, time reversal and like Devouring Orb with Abyssal Echoes. They all mechanically
all the cools are just cool. Anomaly and Volatile Reversal is just like. So like the things you can do with those abilities are just like so cool.
Yeah, they're so much different than all the. I mean, you have Swipe, you have Rive, you have Void Cleave. You know, they're all going to be the same, really. I mean, Harvest, they all just swipe. Yeah. But then you get Reversal, and you get Anomaly, and you get Devour. Like they're all different. You know, it makes the class different. But anyways, Devouring Orb.
I think Devouring Orb. It's so good. Like, the reason I think it's really good, it's, first of all, you get Voidress if you want to cap Voidress, you get increased damage, you get 20% movement speed. It's pretty easy to use, and it has pretty high uptime, so it's not that heavy on the mana. And the Abyssal Seeking projectiles, the Abyssal Emissions or whatever they're called, they hit so much, they echo, so they proc all the idols related to ability skills echoing. You can apply Slow, you can apply Chill, you can apply Frailty from a distance as a melee character. You can kite with it, you can apply your Shred. I think the utility, you get Void Leech from the World Eater passive and you get crazy sustain from it. I think the utility you get from it is so crazy that, again, going back to the Vengeance example, the reason Vengeance, I push 500 with Vengeance is not Vengeance, it's Volatile Reversal and probably Devouring Orb. So I would say, as a utility skill and how you can build it, I think it's S+, personally. It's really laggy, so maybe S, because it's really laggy. But I'm up there. I think it's so good. Like, for example, I've been really wanting to use Sigils on and we put Sigils on S+, and my Turbo Vengeance doesn't use Sigils. Not because it doesn't want it, but because without Devouring Orb, you don't get to apply your stats before you go in, right? And you just die. So just for that reason, I would give it S+.
I could go S+ with it. I was gonna go S, but I mean, you know, it's when I think about Void Knights, I just can't think of any Void Knight builds I've seen without Devouring Orb. And for that reason, it's. And
to be honest, the same for Anomaly. We can just put it in, like, honestly. Like, the Leech on Anomaly, the crit chance, the attack speed.
Yeah, Time Bubble is ridiculous.
yeah, I would just put Time Bubble up there. Like that combo, let's just say the combo of Volatile Orb Anomaly has to, like, that combo alone is just like game changing. It's so good.
Yep.
And now, if you compare it to the stuff on SS, it's absolute garbage, right? But again, these are the kind of things that I think they're gonna stay in the game. They're not gonna get nerfed, and they're always gonna be good just because how they work. Regardless of the numerical numbers, they will always be good, right? I think.
I think well, I'll be surprised if Devouring Orb doesn't see changes with the rework. I think Devouring Orb's going to change.
You think so?
I think so.
To be less of a autocast kind of ability.
Less of autocast and I
more active components maybe, or
I think it'll go more like Flame Ward and the skill tree will stay kind of the same. But I also feel like half the skill tree never gets used. No one does the time rifts.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think
all the left side is like.
Yeah, I could see it seeing some changes, but I'll be I don't know. I'll be surprised if they left it completely as is till 1.0. It might not change this next patch. I expect it to, but in its current state, I mean, it's very powerful, and I'd be surprised if it stayed that way into 1.0. Especially since it's such an old skill too. Like it's been around since the beginning, just as it is, and I'm sure
it's so laggy too.
Yeah,
it's not optimized at all.
It's got to have some optimization things.
Yeah.
Just the way it functions is just something like I don't feel is a way they wanted it to. You know, having
maybe
13 of them always surrounding you because it's on autocast.
Yeah.
But we'll see. All right, Ring of Shields.
I think Ring of Shields is actually pretty strong, especially if you're the kind of player who doesn't want to bother with Volatile Reversal. That's a good alternative. If you have that open slot, I would say, why would you use if you don't want to use Volatile Reversal on a Sentinel setup, right? Well, Ring of Shields is just going to make you basically immune to ranged for whenever it's up. You can get crazy block chance from it. You can get damage. I think it's a good ability. At least an S for me, if not more, honestly. For that, how strong it is at the hands of someone who's like really new to the game. I think this ability alone can allow you to push 300 waves, and you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. So I don't know. I don't know what you think, but for me it's definitely S plus material. But I think I would say S maybe, because I don't think it's as good as the stuff in S plus, but it's definitely, for what it does as just as an utility skill, really strong. Yeah.
I put it as S. I think it would be S plus if the synergies that made it great with the Forge Guard actually synergized well, but they don't.
Yeah.
But
I think it used to be better, right? You could have more uptime on it and stuff, and
if you could have if the buffs inside of it weren't 4 seconds, or if it was easier to have even more uptime of them, it would definitely stay up there. The 20% block or 15% block that you can have.
Yeah.
The added fire damage, the 50% armor on heal that you can get with it, the fact that it blocks projectiles.
The healing, dude. The healing is insane.
The healing with it. What's the other aspect that you get with it on the right side for damage? You can get increased melee fire damage as well as added fire damage. It's pretty potent all around. It's S tier.
You can make shield throw bounce on them, right? If you want to go for that bossing.
That one's a little buggy. I hate that I think shield throw kind of ricochets to the closest target, and Ring of Shields is always so close that it always hits each other. But I always love to put a boss in the middle so that when it does happen, every single one of those ricochets, the fire blast will always hit everything. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mana Fist armor.
Ooh, interesting one, huh?
Problem is, I don't have much. I mean, I know it can be strong. I've played with it; it's decent, but I haven't really ever. I've never done any of the meta builds with it. I've never played one of those builds.
I've seen people play it, right? I've seen people play it, and I know that people who are fairly new to the game have pushed it fairly high. I know it's a really slow playstyle. I know it's really safe on hardcore because you can just let the guy do his thing. I know you can snapshot like fucking crazy with it because it gets stats depending on your gear or something like that. So, just because, I haven't played it, but just because I haven't, it just seems really slow, and I don't know how it falls off. Maybe like A till I play it. I don't want to give an S to something that I haven't played. So I'm gonna say A, but it could be higher. I just don't know.
I was gonna go S, just because I've seen.
Let's go for it then. If you, two opinions, right?
I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Cujo. I've seen Cujo push it extremely high and do massive damage with. I mean, we're talking like 15 to 20k crits on enemies.
Yeah.
It's got the taunt on it. It's S worthy. The snapshotting is what makes it S worthy.
Yeah.
Which is
that's why I'm a bit cautious. Like I don't know how much of what makes it broken is broken stuff.
Snapshotting will make just about anything broken, but yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I don't remember it. This one's Forge Strike. The other one's Smelter's
That
Wrath,
one's
right?
no, that one's Smelter's.
Smelters and then Forge Strike. All right, Smelter's Wrath.
Why even use it? Like C?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go B. I can go C. C's all right with it. Yeah, it's like Rebuke. It should almost go with Rebuke.
Yeah.
In fact,
the only reason I'm not putting it on D is because I've seen this bad boy crit really high.
It can do massive damage. But the thing is like in empowered content in arena, it doesn't matter because you'll die before it even gets to that point.
Yeah.
But we can go see. Either way, it's down there.
I mean, you can play it. You can't really play a Rebuke, but you can actually make. If you are a new player and you just want to play this and run through the game, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be miserable and slow and miserable, but you can do it.
Yeah, C's a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Forge Strike.
Forge Strike, I would say it's more on like the A territory. It's definitely playable now with mana regen and stuff. You can do crit. You can attack from a distance also with it, right? I think you can also do the swords right with it, with the minions and stuff. Yeah. I think it's an okay skill. I don't have too much experience with it because again, it's one of those abilities that why I would use an ability that has like a 15 mana cost that does this amount of damage when I can use Rive and does more damage with 0 mana cost, right? So hopefully I think that these two last abilities are the two Forge Guard abilities. I don't know. I think Forge Guard was the best master in the game and has so many cool, interesting things with the potions and stuff, which I understand they don't want in the game, whatever. But they turned it into what does Forge Guard even do now? I mean, the only thing I know is Forge Guard gets a lot of armor, and then he's either throwing attack, but he's not the best at throwing because Paladin is. He does 200 weapons, but he's not the best at 200 weapons because Void Knight is. And then he does minions, but what? What minions? So yeah, I don't really know what Forge Guard role is other than just getting a shit ton of armor and standing still. Yeah.
Were you there in the dev stream a couple of dev streams ago?
Oh no, don't. Oh.
Is it real? Do they mean it or was it a meme? I mean, when I heard it and I went back and watched it,
I think he means it.
I was just like, how is Forge Guard the best? I don't know I don't know if it was him thinking it's the best, and I'm just like, come on, Mike. No one plays Forge Guard for a reason. No one. Like, how can you say it's the best one in the game right now?
Yeah, basically on the recent dev stream, someone was asking about if we were gonna see changes to Sentinel, and they said yes because they've been teasing about it. And they said that all of the changes are coming to Void Knight because they feel it's like the most outdated class. Which, I mean, Void Knight is old, but Void Knight is cool as fuck. I mean, the top of the tree needs a rework, but the bottom of the tree, I think it's fine. Future Strikes, World Eater, all the defensive stuff, the flat damage. I honestly don't. The Execute, like, I don't know, like, the Absorption thing is whatever, right? And then all of the Echo stuff is it's cool, right? It's a bit outdated, only affecting melee, whatever. And basically he said that the only class that wasn't gonna get too many touches was Forge Guard because they thought Forge Guard was in the best place out of all of them. And obviously we were kind of like a bit surprised because I'm pretty sure the entire community thinks Forge Guard is absolutely soulless, alright? Like it's not bad, it can do things, but it's just like the bottom of the tree it feels so limited. You feel so constrained when you're on that class. It's so specific, and it's the specific, like, they force you into this, like, hybrid throwing melee thing that no one wants to play, and it's not good. They add crazy mana cost on top of, like, the hammer and anvil that no one wants to. It's just, it's a class that it feels really disconnected with how the game actually plays. And it's really surprising because the same devs have made the fucking marksman tree, right? So it's funny that they're being able to create like the best, and then they've done that like a month earlier or 2 months earlier, or whatever. So we will see. I'm a bit worried because I love Sentinel and I like Void Knight a lot, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right, 2 skills left. Erasing Strike.
Yeah, that's all you have to say.
I just Forge Guards, whatever. I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
Erasing Strike. I'm gonna go A on Erasing Strike. It can do good
Yeah, me
damage,
too.
but
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I gotta say
cool.
about it.
We'll see. Yeah.
Shield Bash. This one's gonna be on you. I have like barely touched Shield Bash. It's like one of the skills I just haven't touched.
Utility is good. You can get some block chance. You can get the stun, which is kind of abusable, right? Especially in MP, I can see it being abusable. But why use Shield Bash when you have Sigils? I would say it's an A. It's good, it's good. A is balanced, right? So it's good. But again, I don't see why would you use it over. Like, would I put Shield Bash on my build over Holy Aura, Sigils, Orb, Anomaly? No, right? So it's okay. It's okay. It's an interesting ability. It's for that, if you want to go for that super tanky and go run around with like just Holy Aura, Sigils, Shield Bash, and what is it called? The Ring of Shields. Well, you're gonna be a crazy juggernaut, and I could see builds like that for multiplayer when you don't need to do damage yourself. So, but as of today, I think it's an okay ability for utility, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's an alright skill. The little bit I played with it, it's done alright. The damage isn't like overly crazy with it, but the block chance is nice. The guaranteed block that you can get with it, although the cooldown is long. But it's alright. A's fine with me.
I like that they added the proccing with Lunge too. I think that's pretty cool. I hope they do more stuff like that.
Yeah, and the proc with the Ring of Shields to make a wall. That was a cool interaction.
Yeah,
not really
cool.
usable so much, but it was cool.
Yeah, I wish when they add these cool things, they actually make sure that they're not just cool, but they're usable, right? Like, if you make something that is really cool, and then you just add a 10-second internal cooldown, well, no one's gonna rely on that. Especially, and again, why add a 10-second cooldown into making your shields a wall when you have Earthquake wherever running around, like one-shotting the screen? So yeah.
And when Shield Bash was created, the game was kind of in a different state, because that was before they redid the Forge Guard tree, and you used to be able to get a lot more shields. And so I remember Sarno and a couple other people that were proccing, 20, 30, 40 shields, and then making a wall, and the wall would take the whole screen, and it was cool, because it was like you could run forward and nothing hit you. But you can't do that anymore, so it's different, but yeah. And that is officially the end of Part 5. All of the skills in the game now have been put on the tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.